This is my friend James's 1992 Porsche 968, and today we're going to be doing an oil change in it. We don't really know what oil's in it, so even though it was only serviced about 2,000 or 3,000 miles ago, we're just going to change it, and I'm going to show you how. So the first thing we need to do is get the car up on ramps. If you have a 4-post lift, then that is even better, but for the purposes of doing it on your driveway, these plastic ramps will do the job just nicely. I much prefer these plastic ones to the old style metal ones. They're much smoother and easier to get up, and they're low enough rise that the car will clear it. So I've already been round the block to warm the car up, and we can just put it up on the ramp. Okay, safety first. Obviously the car's up on the ramps, it's in gear with a handbrake on, and I've got the chocks in place. Okay, so in terms of what you're going to need for the job, obviously first and foremost you're going to need oil. The car takes about 7 and a bit litres, so I would recommend get 2 5-litre bottles, and that'll give you plenty, and also some for topping up later if you need it. We've gone for this Miller's Nano Drive 10W50. It's not the original Porsche specification, but experts at Hartech seem to be recommending this as a better oil for engines with higher mileage. And seeing as this has now got about 140 odd thousand on it, then it's probably the right choice for this engine. We've also got a new oil filter, and this comes with the crush washer for the sump plug. So that's all the parts that we need. We've got a funnel for filling the oil with, obviously got the cheap cardboard for lying on. Gloves, always handy for keeping your hands free of oil. In terms of tools, pretty much all you need is a basic socket set, and you'll need one of these strap type oil filter removal wrenches, and you'll need a oil drain pan. I know a lot of people use old washing up bowls or something like that, but honestly invest in one of these. It's about 10 quid, it makes it much easier. You'll also need plenty of rags. I buy these painter's rags, they come in bales, there's probably over 1,000 in there. I've been using this for ages, I've not even really used half of the pack yet, so I'd really recommend those. And lastly, I've got a big tub of empty screen wash, which I use for dumping the used oil in. If there's any other tools that we need along the way, I'll point them out to you, but let's get started. Okay, so the first thing you're going to need to do is release the bonnet or the hood wherever you are in the world, and it's always on the left hand side down here. Obviously if this was a left hand drive car, it would still be in the same place, and it's a little lever in on the side here, and just give it a pull, and that's the bonnet released. Okay, so the bonnet catch is about here to the left of the badge. Just pull it up, there's the catch in there, and open the bonnet. Now, the first thing you're going to want to do is undo the oil filler cap, because that will release the vacuum and allow the oil to drain better. So just take that out and pop it somewhere safe to the side, and we can start draining. Okay, so moving underneath the car, the sump plug is right here, which means we've got to move this aluminium tray to get it out. Now this is held in with 4 bolts. They're duplicated each side, so there's a little 10mm here which I've already loosened. There's another 10mm there which I've also loosened, and then it's the same over on the other side. So we'll take them out, and then the aluminium tray will just come out. Okay, so I've got my oil drain in place. I've ended up having to take the whole under tray off because some of the bolts were seized that were attaching it all together, so just taking it all off as one big piece. I'm now going to take the sump plug out. This is a 15mm hex on the end, so you'll need a 15mm socket for it, so I'm just going to loosen that now. I've got my gloves on, I've got rags ready. I'm going to try and not drop the sump plug in the oil, but we'll see what we can do. There we go. Loosened, and let's get that in place. So it's going to spurt out quite far, so I'm angling the pan to catch as much of it as possible. this out gently. There we go, that's at the end. And there we are. Nice. Good, so we're going to let that drain for 10 or 15 minutes, and while that's happening we'll go and have a look at the oil filter. Okay, so now that the oil is draining nicely, what we're going to do is get to this oil filter, which is down here. It's not in the easiest to access location, which is why you'll need the strap tool to remove it. But in order to make it easier to get to that, what we're going to do is first remove this plastic trim piece around here, which is just held on with these two clips that you just pull, and the thing will just pull out, which I'll do in a moment. And then there's 8 of these metal clips all the way around the airbox, and then lastly there's these metal clips which I've already undone, which are just snap clips like that, and that allows it to detach from the boot. So I shall get all those off. Okay, so now that the airbox and the filter is out of the way, you'll be able to get in and clean up inside it. And the first thing you'll now want to do is take off this plug on the back of the distributor, which I've already loosened so I can pull it off easily on camera. You can just tuck that out of the way. And then also I've just got the strap tool. You can see I fitted the strap over the outside of the oil filter, and I've put my extension bar on it. So now all I need to do is get a ratchet and loosen off the filter. There we go. It's starting to come off nicely, and I think we'll now be able to undo that by hand. Okay, so I've got some rags ready to collect the oil. Okay, so now what I can do is use my rag, get in and clean up the oil that is just leaked out of the edge of the filter. Okay, so as you can see, that is where the oil filter is fitted to. What I'll do off camera is soak up the rest of the used oil that's in there, but as you can see, I've cleaned up the mating faces for the new filter to go onto. So when you rejoin me, that's what I'll be doing next, is refitting the new. Okay, so before I fit the new oil filter, what I want to do is lubricate this seal so that it seals nicely. So just use a handful or a fingerful of the new engine oil for that. So I'll just get a tiny bit on the end of my finger. There we go, spread it, and just work it gently onto the seal like that, and with that it's ready to fit. Okay, so this is the top of the filter housing right here. So what I'm going to do now is fit the filter. Now what I'm going to do with this is only do it up hand tight. If you use tools to tighten it up, then when you come to do it again, or the next person comes to do it, they will not be able to get the filter off. So just do it as tight as you can get it with a gloved hand. So I'm just feeding it in gently. Make sure it's on the thread nicely and it's not cross-threaded. There we are, it's contacted, and there we are, and that is plenty tight enough. So you can now see that's new filter installed. So what we can do now is put the airbox and everything back. Okay, so now is as good a time as any to put a new filter in. Good. Good. Okay, so now that the oil filter's in, we're ready to refill the oil, and of course before we do that we need to put the sump plug back in, and you want to use a new crush washer, which if you've bought a decent filter the crush washer usually comes with it, but double check, make sure you've got a new crush washer. And it just fits on the plug like so, and we're ready to fit. Okay, so make sure the sump plug's nice and clean. This is the used oil here, and we'll just fit the sump plug back in carefully, making sure not to cross thread it, so it should be able to go in all the way very easily just through your fingers. If it isn't, then it's not threaded right, and just use the rag to clean it up. Now what we want to do is use not a socket, but use a torque wrench to do this up to the correct torque. It's something like 25 Newton meters, and that'll be us done, and then we can fill it with new oil. So I'm going to get this oil out of the way, torque it up, and you'll join me when we're ready to put the new oil in. Okay, so now that the sump plug is back in, we're now ready to fill the oil. So where the oil filler neck is that we took the cap off of earlier, I'm going to use a funnel. I just made sure that the funnel is totally clean before putting the new oil in. Now the engine oil capacity for this is exactly 7 litres. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the first 5 litre can in without checking it, and then what I'll do is when I put the second can in and start feeding that in, that's when I'll periodically start checking the dipstick, make sure that I don't overfill it. Okay, so when I'm filling the second can into here, it's important to remember that the oil filter hasn't filled yet. So what we're going to do is we're going to take it till it's about 3/4 of the way up the dipstick, and then what we'll do is start the car, let it run for a little while, and then when we shut it off we'll be able to get a more accurate measurement. Also remember that you won't get a totally accurate measurement unless the car is on level ground. So before I make the final top up, I'm going to go and park it on the most level part of the driveway and then check it again, and if it needs topped up I can put a wee bit more in. So just remember, you can't really easily take stuff out, so just take it slowly and just add in a little bit at a time. So now this one's finished, I'm going to get started on the second bottle. Okay, so I've just finished topping it off with the second bottle in the oil filler neck here. As I mentioned, what I did after I filled the first one is put in a bit of the second one. I got it about 3/4 of the way up the dipstick, then I stopped, started the car, let that oil filter down there, fill quickly. After about a couple of minutes of running, shut it off again, waited 5 minutes for the oil to drain back down into the sump, and then have topped it off with the oil. Now I've also been down there and put the under tray back on. It's not complicated, it's 4 bolts, it's just the reverse of taking it off, and now that this is done, what I'll be able to do is get the car onto level ground and check it one last time and top up. I'm not going to film that, it's really simple, the bulk of the work's done now. So yeah, that's pretty much it, just need to clean up now. Okay, so that's how you change the oil on a Porsche 968. I hope you've found that helpful. I know it's not a full service, I'm sorry, it was just an oil change today, so I thought I'd film it. And fingers crossed it helps someone else in the future. So thanks for watching, and see you again soon. Bye for now.